Takashi Yamazaki's Godzilla Minus One from 2023 opens on Odo Island, where a broken down war pilot named Koichi Shikishima lands his damaged plane. As a part of the war efforts, he was assigned the task of a kamikaze pilot, but manages to get out of it by lying and saying there is something wrong with his plane. Now part of a maintenance crew stationed on the island, he has only postponed his fate until they can properly send him off. One night, before he can get the chance, the island is attacked by a massive, dinosaur-like creature called the Godzillasaurus. The dinosaur attacks the crew, but Shikishima manages to escape the pack and make it to a plane with a machine gun. While most of the crew is being wiped out, Shikishima can only watch in horror as his friends are killed off one by one. He tries to shoot but freezes up, ultimately overcome by his own fear and trauma from the war. 4 years later, in 1949, Japan is devastated. Shikishima returns to Tokyo, a city in ruins, and is tormented by survivor's guilt and PTSD. He visits his parents' former home only to find it a vacant lot. He learns that his parents died in the war and he feels responsible for not dying with them. Haunted by the terror he witnessed, he discovers that the creature has now grown into the monstrous Godzilla, mutated by nuclear testing and wreaking havoc all across Japan. I love this opening because it sets a somber and desperate tone, highlighting the trauma of war and the helplessness of the characters against the emerging and unstoppable force. Now that Shikishima's parents are dead and his home destroyed, he is forced to reckon with what he has done as he tries to restart his life in a new world. But this is only the beginning. The actions, themes, and characters that follow in the remainder of the film are truly amazing and unlike any other Godzilla movie up to this point. But before we can fully dive in and understand what makes this movie truly unique among the Godzilla franchise, we must first discuss the rich history of the movies leading up to its creation. Throughout the 71 years Godzilla has been around, there have been 38 different movies made, each with their own distinct and deep history. With movies in the series coming from all across the globe, spanning 21 unique directors, it is not hard to see why each movie could have large differences between them. Godzilla, originally known as Gojira, made his debut in 1954 in the film directed by Ishiro Honda. The people of Japan were still overcoming the bombings from World War II, and so Godzilla was conceived as a metaphor for the devastation caused by nuclear weapons, including the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The original film portrays Godzilla as a prehistoric creature awakened and mutated by nuclear testing in the Pacific. Beloved by all, Godzilla made waves in the movie industry, even despite looking like a bug. This film was a critical success and laid the groundwork for the franchise, establishing Godzilla as a symbol for destruction and the consequences of humanity's hubris. Following the success of the first film, Godzilla became a cultural icon in Japan and all around the world. The franchise expanded with numerous sequels, each exploring different themes and narratives. The early films, such as Godzilla Raids Again and King Kong vs. Godzilla, introduced more monsters and showcased Godzilla in a more heroic light, appealing to younger audiences, moving away from the more somber tones and choosing to focus more on a light-hearted action and campy vibe. In the 1970s, the series shifted even more towards a family-friendly approach with films like Godzilla vs. Megalon and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. By the 1980s, however, the franchise took a slightly different turn with the Heisei era. Starting with the return of Godzilla, the original film's themes of nuclear destruction became a focus once more. The Heisei era of Godzilla films had a darker tone because of wanting to appeal to older audiences, competing with other sci-fi and action movies and reflecting the anxieties of the time, such as environmental concerns and technological advancements. They also used better special effects to make the monsters and their battles more realistic and intense. Plus, the stories explored deeper themes about science, ethics, and the consequences of messing with nature. This area in particular has a special place in my heart, being what ultimately got me into Godzilla. In 1998, an American adaptation directed by Rolland Emmerich was released, but it was met with extremely mixed reviews, seeing how most people believed it didn't align with the original character's essence. TriStar Pictures bought the rights from Toho in the early 90s, aiming to create a big Hollywood-style Godzilla movie. Their goal with this was to make it more appealing to Western audiences, so they went for a faster, more agile creature, different from the classic lumbering Godzilla. Rolland Emmerich, known for blockbusters like Independence Day, The Day After Tomorrow, and The Patriot, was brought in to direct, hoping to deliver a large-scale action flick. The production faced a lot of challenges, including script rewrites and design changes, trying to balance a fresh take with the expectations of Godzilla fans. Ultimately, the film didn't do nearly as hoped and is often highly criticized for not staying true to the spirit of the original Godzilla. The 1990s saw the introduction of the Millennium series, which includes films like Godzilla 2000, funnily enough released in 1999, each presenting standalone stories that often disregarded previous timelines. Godzilla 2000 in particular was created because of Toho, the Japanese studio behind the original Godzilla, and they wanted to revive the franchise back after the horrible reception of the 1998 American film. They decided to bring Godzilla back to its Japanese roots, aiming to deliver a movie that honored the character's legacy while updating it for a new millennium. Toho wanted to reassure fans that the true spirit of Godzilla was still alive and well. In 2004, Toho celebrated Godzilla's 50th anniversary with Godzilla Final Wars, which aimed to wrap up the Millennium franchise. Toho wanted to create an epic, all-out monster movie that brought together many of Godzilla's classic foes in one big showdown. The idea was to deliver a grand finale showcasing Godzilla's strength and solidifying his status as the king of the monsters. They packed it with action, special effects, and a fast-paced plot to appeal to both longtime fans and new audiences. It was intended as a tribute to the entire series, revisiting iconic elements while also trying something new. Overall, perceived well by fans and critics alike, some people argue it was still a bit too goofy and campy to be taken seriously and strayed too far away from the original works. Rather than this being the case, in fact, the opposite happened when the characters revived once more in 2014 with the American film Godzilla, directed by Gareth Edwards. This led to a resurgence of interest in the franchise, especially in the Western world, including sequels like Godzilla King of the Monsters and the crossover with King Kong in Godzilla vs. Kong. Still to this day, the MonsterVerse is as popular as ever, with a new movie currently in production. Back in Japan, Toho also announced a new film, Shin Godzilla, which reimagined the characters in a modern context. Hideaki Anno, known for his work on Neon Genesis Evangelion, was brought in to direct, aiming to deliver a more serious and realistic take on the character. The film reflects contemporary concerns such as government bureaucracy, crisis management, and the potential dangers of nuclear power. It portrays Godzilla as a constantly evolving creature, representing the unpredictable nature of modern threats. The goal was to create a Godzilla movie with the main goal of addressing relevant social and political issues. Leading up to Godzilla Minus One, the franchise had been through various interpretations, each reflecting the societal concerns of its time. Godzilla Minus One represents a return to the darker, more serious themes of the original, re-establishing Godzilla as a symbol of both destruction and resilience. But in order to fully examine why this is the case, we need to go back to where we left off in Minus One. Following Shikishima's return to Japan, he meets Noriko Ueshi, a young woman caring for an orphaned infant named Akiko. After meeting in the town market, they eventually come to form an unconventional family unit, living together in a makeshift home. In order to support them, Shikishima takes a dangerous job as a minesweeper, clearing naval mines left over from the war. He works alongside other veterans, including Kenji Noda, a former scientist and engineer who serves as a mentor to Shikishima. While out on the sea, they face constant danger, both from the mines and their own psychological scars. Meanwhile, in the Pacific Ocean, the United States conducts nuclear tests at Bikini Atoll. These tests awaken and further mutate Godzilla, transforming him into a colossal and incredibly powerful monster. Following this, Godzilla begins to head towards Japan, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. After reaching the island, Godzilla eventually attacks Tokyo, and the destruction is catastrophic. The government, still struggling to rebuild the nation, is ill-equipped to handle the crisis. Godzilla's atomic breath obliterates entire districts with a nuclear force, and the city is thrown into chaos. Shikishima witnesses the destruction firsthand, his trauma resurfacing as he desperately tries to protect Noriko and Akiko. Following the attack, a group of scientists, engineers, and former military personnel, led by Noda, come together to devise a plan to stop Godzilla. Knowing that conventional weapons are useless against him, Noda proposes a plan to lure Godzilla into Sagami Bay, near Oda Island, and use a sudden decompression to crush him. The plan involves using Freon gas to rapidly suck Godzilla to the bottom of the ocean, hoping that the immense pressure and weight would be enough to kill him. Following the attack, a group of scientists, engineers, and former military personnel, led by Noda, come together to devise a plan to stop Godzilla. Knowing that conventional weapons are useless against him, Noda proposes a plan to lure Godzilla into Sagami Bay, near Oda Island, and use a sudden decompression to crush him. The plan involves using Freon gas to rapidly suck Godzilla to the bottom of the ocean, hoping that the immense pressure and weight would be enough to kill him. They modify several ships and aircrafts for the operation, working in secret to avoid government interference. Shikishima, driven by his guilt and a desire to protect his new family, volunteers to pilot a specially equipped plane to deliver the final blow. He undergoes intense training, confronting his past trauma and learning to overcome his fear. Tachibana, the mechanic from Odo Island, reappears and helps Shikishima modify his plane, offering a form of redemption for the both of them. On the day of the operation, the team puts their plan into action. They successfully lure Godzilla into Sagami Bay and deploy the Freon gas. Godzilla's movements slow and he becomes visibly weakened. However, he proves to be more resilient than they anticipated. The plan is executed as planned, but unfortunately it is not enough to kill the giant monster. In one final attempt at saving Japan, Shikishima flies his plane directly towards Godzilla, intending to detonate a series of explosives inside of his mouth. He has a flashback to the events of Oda Island, remembering his failure to act. This time, he is determined to overcome his fear and make amends for his past mistakes. In a climactic moment, Shikishima successfully detonates the explosives, and Godzilla is seemingly destroyed. The ocean erupts in a massive explosion, and Godzilla sinks to the bottom of the bay. The survivors celebrate their victory, believing that they have saved Japan. However, in the final scene, a small piece of Godzilla's flesh regenerates, hinting that the monster may not truly be dead. Meanwhile, Shikishima is rescued from the wreckage of his plane. He's reunited with Noriko and Akiko, finding a measure of peace and redemption. The film ends on a bittersweet note, with the hope for the future tempered by the knowledge that the threat of Godzilla may still linger. Additionally, Noriko is shown to have a dark scar on her neck, implying that she may have been exposed to radiation and may herself be healing like Godzilla. Godzilla Minus One presents a multifaceted exploration of post-war Japan, intertwining themes of individual trauma, national identity, and the enduring scars of conflict. His deep-seated guilt and sense of inadequacy are compounded by the loss of his parents in the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, leaving him emotionally adrift and struggling to find a purpose in his new shattered world. The emergence of Godzilla serves as both a literal and metaphorical representation of the destruction brought on by the war. The monster's destructive rampages mirror the physical destruction of Japan's cities and infrastructure, while also symbolizing the psychological trauma inflicted upon its people. Godzilla's atomic origins further emphasize the film's commentary on the dangers of nuclear weapons and the long-lasting consequences of their use. As Shikishima grapples with his personal demons, he finds himself drawn into the effort to defeat Godzilla, joining a makeshift team of war veterans and civilian experts. The collective endeavor highlights the importance of unity and collaboration in overcoming adversity. Throughout their shared experiences and determination, the characters begin to heal from their wounds and forge a path towards a more hopeful future. Godzilla Minus One ultimately offers a powerful message of resilience, redemption, and the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable devastation. It's a somber reflection on the past, but also a testimony to the possibility of rebuilding and finding meaning in the aftermath of tragedy. All of these together separate Minus One from the rest of the flock, by instead having the focus be on Godzilla. For the first time, the spotlight is shown on one man, Shikishima. Godzilla merely serves as the catalyst for the personal growth that he experiences. But even apart from what we see in the movie, there was a lot done differently by Minus One in the making/production of the movie that equally adds to the depth and uniqueness of the story. The genesis of Godzilla Minus One lies in Toho's desire to create a Godzilla film that would resonate with global audiences while remaining true to the character's roots. Writer and director Takashi Yamazaki, known for his visual effects work and storytelling in films like The Eternal Zero and Spacebound Yamato, was entrusted with the project. Yamazaki approached the film with a clear vision to depict Godzilla as a terrifying force of nature, a symbol of the trauma and devastation inflicted upon Japan in the aftermath of World War II. Godzilla Minus One is a visual effects masterpiece, particularly remarkable considering its relatively modest budget of a measly $15 million. Compared to the Hollywood standard of around $100 million per movie, Minus One falls considerably below. This, coupled with the fact it has managed to gross around $115 million, gives a huge margin of profit. Yamazaki served as the film's visual effects supervisor, leading a team of talented artists at Shirogumi Inc. to bring Godzilla to life with stunning realism. The visual effects team employed a combination of CGI and practical effects, meticulously crafting each scene to maximize impact. Compared to big blockbusters like Marvel projects that have been known to have shiesty CG at times, it makes the feats accomplished here even more impressive, and the reason for that is clear. Takashi Yamazaki, the director, is also a visual effects whiz. He is known for his CGI skills and even served as the visual effects supervisor for the project. All too often you hear about rushed and overworked CG crews, which is why movies tend to suffer in these areas. But for Minus One, Takashi wanted to give a different approach by personally involving himself with the visual effects crew and giving them all the time and support required. Godzilla's design in Minus One is a deliberate departure from some of the more recent iterations. Yamazaki sought to create Godzilla that evoked the creature's iconic look from the 1954 film, while also incorporating modern design elements to enhance its ferocity and imposing presence. The resulting design is a truly terrifying Godzilla, with jagged dorsal fins, piercing eyes, and a powerful, muscular physique. The monster's atomic breath is depicted with breathtaking intensity, a searing blast of energy that obliterates everything in its path. Principal photography for Godzilla Minus One took place in various locations across Japan, with the production team meticulously recreating the war-torn landscapes of the post-war Tokyo. The film's production design is a key element in establishing the historical context and atmosphere. The filmmakers paid close attention to detail, from the costumes and props to the set design, ensuring authenticity and immersion in the audience in the world of 1940s Japan. The film's cinematography is equally impressive, with dynamic camera angles and evocative lighting that heighten the tension and drama. The battle sequences are masterfully staged, blending practical effects with CGI to create a visceral and terrifying experience. The sound design is also crucial, with Godzilla's roar and footsteps resonating with bone-shattering force. In essence, Godzilla Minus One is a testament to the power of visual storytelling, combining compelling characters, a thought-provoking narrative, and a groundbreaking visual effects to create a truly unforgettable cinematic experience. The film's success is a result of Yamazaki's vision, the dedication of the cast and crew, and the innovative techniques employed by the visual effects team. But now knowing this and taking away from all Minus One has to offer, where can the series go from here? Godzilla Minus One has the potential to reshape the Godzilla franchise in several significant ways, starting with the visual standard created. The film's groundbreaking visual effects, especially considering its relatively modest budget, have set a new benchmark for monster movies. Future Godzilla films, as well as other entries in the kaiju genre, will likely be compared to Minus One in terms of visual fidelity and realism. This could push filmmakers to innovate further and invest more in VFX to meet the audience expectations. Beyond the spectacle of Godzilla's destruction, Minus One focuses on the human stories of survivors grappling with trauma and rebuilding their lives after World War II. This emphasis on the character development and emotional depth resonated with audiences and critics alike. Unlike the weaker characters from the previous eras, I can only hope future Godzilla films may be prioritizing character-driven narratives alongside the monster action. The film's widespread critical acclaim and commercial success in both Japan and international markets could pave way for the more international collaborations in the Godzilla franchise. This could lead to a greater diversity of creative voices and perspectives, resulting in fresh and innovative approaches to the Godzilla character as a whole. While Godzilla Minus One heavily relies on CGI, it also incorporates practical effects such as miniatures and animatronics to enhance the realism of the monsters and its surroundings. This blend of CGI and practical effects was praised by many viewers. It could inspire future filmmakers to embrace a similar approach, combining cutting-edge technology with traditional techniques to create a more tangible and immersive experience. In summary, Godzilla Minus One has the potential to influence the future of the series by raising the bar for visual effects, prioritizing character-driven narratives, fostering international collaborations, and exploring historical elements as well as social themes, and reviving the use of practical effects. I believe its impact could be felt for years to come, shaping the direction of not only the Godzilla franchise, but cinema as a whole. If you made it to the end of the video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I'm just starting my channel out, brand new, so any viewer just means a lot to me, and I just want you to know I genuinely appreciate you. I hope everyone has a great day.